Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of the Manic Movie Misfits podcast. I am your co-host, John Phillips.
And I'm Trever Chick.
I just spilled LaCroix on myself.
Fool.
Wow. I am a smart one. What can I say?
Yeah, except you're welcome.
Except you're welcome.
I stole Emerson's line.
I know, you've become the new ambassador. Would you say you become the new ambassador of that line? Have you said it enough?
No, I've said it once in probably the span of 2 months.
Okay, well, that's a shame. That ruined the party a little bit to kick off the episode.
Just a little.
But you guys might be wondering, okay, we get it. It's movie of the week, but why? But movie of the week, Seinfeld isn't a movie. It's a television show. And you'd be correct. Actually, just kidding, you're not correct. There is actually Seinfeld, the movie, we're going to talk about instead. No, but seriously, we have chosen Seinfeld for our movie of the week slot because TJ and I both finished the show within the last couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to talk about it because we both love the show. It's one of the greatest sitcoms of all time, debatably the best. There are a few in that circle. In the running. Cough, cough, Friends. You know, if you want to include MASH, Cheers, I'm cool with that. I approve. I approve. I've seen them.
Nice.
So, it's whatever your cup of tea is, just go with it. But before we get into Seinfeld, we watched over the weekend Jurassic World Dominion. The new and final installment in the Jurassic World series, starring Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard, and it brought back the OG cast for the final movie. And well, it's definitely the end of the trilogy, and there hasn't been any announcement of.
I think they're ending it with this one.
That's what I figured. That's kind of what it felt like anyway, with the culmination of the original cast and the cast of the Jurassic World movies. So, with that being said, TJ...
Here are some results I found. Chris Pratt, Jimmy Fallon, Bryce Dallas Howard,
Jimmy Fallon?
Judy Greer, Vincent D'Onofrio...
Oh, she's
Irfan
listing the
Khan,
cast of
Jake
the first
Johnson,
one.
Nick Robinson, B.D. Wong, and Katie McGrath.
That is the cast of Jurassic Park.
Thank you, Siri.
Jurassic World. Or as I just call them Jurassic Park 4 and 5 and 6.
Well...
That's what I don't know.
I mean, you can technically count them as that. I still like to call them Jurassic World movies because that is kind of what this culminated in. The trilogy did culminate in is Jurassic World.
Well, yeah, I don't know. It just moved from it. I don't know. For me, it's just
yeah, they are.
It's the same series. I don't care.
Yeah, TJ doesn't care. He's just vibing.
I think I've never. Other than just calling them by movie, I don't think I've called them like Jurassic World 2. I just call them Jurassic Park 5.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never heard you say that. Did you say that?
I do that most times, yeah.
Oh, I'm deaf.
Yeah, or at least when I'm just like offhand talking about it.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I call them Jurassic Worlds. I like to think of half and half park movies, half world movies. But yeah, they are ultimately the same thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's just my inner like Star Wars talking, where it's just like it's Star Wars 7. I don't call it sequel 1. I don't know.
Well, I guess that's a little different. That's different, though.
It is, but, like, I don't know. Like, series with, like, trilogies or, like, sub-series within series. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just...
Who knows? Also, Lost World haters out there, that's the second Jurassic Park movie. You need to get lost. Go figure your life out, because that movie is great, and...
I think that's, like... the haters with most of them, because I think even Fallen Kingdom isn't that bad.
Oh, I know. I'm gonna talk about this in my review or in our spoiler-free discussion of it before we get into Seinfeld, which I guess we can get into. And what I'll say is this movie, in my opinion, is just as enjoyable as the other two films. Agree? Disagree?
Yes and no.
Because the reason I say this is because it has the scares. The scares are definitely there. We have some great moments. Mm-hmm. I won't list any of them because we're getting into spoiler talk here, but it has some great scares, and the dialogue between the two, between the characters, which I don't mean to spoil what I'm going to talk about later, but the dialogue gets pretty bad at points. But nonetheless,
yeah,
at times the dialogue is very fun, and and of course the actors help with that some too, especially Jeff Goldblum. But
oh yeah,
the character interactions are fun. I thought, just like the other two movies, this film was well casted. I liked the additions to the cast. Yeah. I was kind of worried. I'm worried with any movie that is the culmination of a series when they bring in new characters, because you're taking away time from the culmination of that moment.
So, yeah.
But I will say the new characters that they added did have a purpose, and I thought they were integrated well. So props to who's directing this? Colin Trevorrow?
Yeah. The guy who did the first Jurassic World.
Yeah. And props to him and the casting directors and whatnot. I thought that was well done. But yeah, I thought the enjoyability for me was just as high as the other ones. I loved I think part of that also includes the fact that they used a lot of animatronics for the dinosaurs, which was great. Anytime in these movies that there are animatronic dinosaurs, count me in. I'm in. Wherever I am, just find me. John, you got to get in here. Animatronic dinosaurs. Boom. Hit me up. I'm in. Yeah. I'm going to sit down on a couch. I'm going to sit down on this couch right here. There's a couch over here to the left. Sit down. We're going to watch it because I love animatronic dinosaurs. If the one thing these movies have taken into account and remembered is how well those animatronic dinosaurs in the original film translated to today. And they definitely understood that. Now, there's obviously times where they couldn't do that, right? Because they had the chase in... where were they? They were in... where was that place? Started with an M, I think? Where Chris Pratt's on the motor...
Yeah, it's not Madrid.
I thought it started with an M. Anyway...
It does. I don't remember. Is it Malta?
Malta, that's right. So there's a chase in Malta. I can say this. It's in the trailer. And he's being chased by these two evolutionized raptors. And obviously they couldn't use animatronics then because they're going really fast, but there are a lot of animatronic moments in this film, so look forward to that. TJ, as I was saying, disagree with my take on it being as enjoyable as the other two.
Real quick, like adding on with the animatronics.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I think it does the same thing as kind of like what some of the most recent Star Wars things have done, where they've really taken into the account of like puppetry and all that, like how it works. Just because it's like the big new bombastic Star Wars movie doesn't mean you can't still use a puppet. It looks pretty cool. I think Star Wars has been a series that integrates them, same as Jurassic Park.
We literally talked about it on Sauna Sunday, how well the Star Wars movies have used the authentic ships and stuff. Models.
Yeah, with Star Wars, the one that always comes to mind is like the weird, really tall alien that's at the beginning of Solo, that's voiced by I think it's Linda Hunt. It's the one that like it's not like the first 5 minutes of the movie. It's
it's the one that they all work for.
Yeah, that's like
can't get the light on him.
Yeah, I always think of that one because it's very it's very just puppety and really cool like that. And I think that was one of the times where I was like, it's really cool that they do truly come back to these puppets because it's something that is really fun to see.
And it's in a world where there is a lot of CGI, it's hard to go back to those things because CGI is the new thing, and the advancements in CGI and visual effects is the new thing. So for them to come back to that, is a big treat.
The movie itself, Jurassic World 3, Jurassic Park 6, whatever.
Jurassic World 3. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Just kidding. I enjoyed it. I think as a whole, I thought it was very enjoyable. I never found there to be a truly dull moment. And I mean, that being said, it's 2.5 hour movie, and I enjoyed myself through and through.
We'll get to the flaws later. So if you have any of those, we'll reserve it for later.
I thought the action was fun. I think the culmination of everything was interesting. and I liked kind of like the nostalgia of it, some of the callbacks. The music is absolutely fantastic. I mean, you got the guy who did the music for the Batman, and I mean, he knows what he's doing. He's one of those like big new modern composers, and I mean, he does a good job with all three. But I feel like with this one, he really went hard.
After several months have passed, a few months have passed from watching the Batman, since the Batman has came out, I've realized that more and more people that have been a part of that film have been a part of a lot of other great films that I didn't realize around this past year and a half, 2-year span. I didn't realize it, but we keep talking about it, or movie discussions, and randomly it'll be, it's the cinematographer from
The Batman.
The Batman. It's the composer from The Batman.
The director, the stars. It's weird how big that movie is in terms of like getting people together, like in terms of like crew talent. I mean, it pays off. It's an absolutely fantastic movie, and definitely one of the best of the year. But yeah, it's definitely interesting to see how much that movie really dipped into like all these small talents to make something really cool.
Mm-hmm. Another thing I enjoyed with this new Jurassic World movie, Jurassic World Dominion, is the blockbuster vibe, because it definitely had that.
Yeah.
And it did not you really felt. Now, some people will argue, well, it didn't really feel necessarily like a special occasion because it was the third one in the franchise. Whatever. Just go take a hike. For me, at least, it definitely did feel like a blockbuster should. And really, anytime I'm watching a blockbuster that, and maybe this is just because we get so many Marvel movies now, anytime we get a blockbuster that isn't a Marvel movie, I'm genuinely excited. Don't get me wrong. TJ and I may have said a few things, or some hate towards the Marvel movies that's been justified. We still enjoy them. We like them, but
just
it is really
flack doesn't mean we don't enjoy them.
Yeah, but to see a blockbuster that isn't a Marvel movie gets me hyped. This is and also just I love the Jurassic Park movies.
Yeah, I was just about to say. I mean, I've been watching Jurassic Park for forever, and I remember going into the theater to see Fallen Kingdom, because that was the first one I saw in theaters, and being super hyped. And I kind of had that same feeling like when this one truly started. I was like, oh my god, it's another Jurassic World movie. I'm so excited. And I like you said, it has that vibe where it's just it's a fun time. I really enjoyed it. Like I said that earlier, but I mean, blockbusters that aren't Marvel or just like superhero movies in general, I always love that. It's
good for cinema.
Yes, it's good to see that more than just your basic superhero movie is destroying the box office. Because I mean, yes, they're fun. And yes, they have their qualities. Do we want to see only that? No, I honestly would want to go see something else, probably before a Marvel movie. That being said, Jurassic World's a good time.
It is, and it's really cool to see this movie go right after Top Gun Maverick, which I saw again, by the way, for a second time with the fam yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
It was great.
Good stuff.
Just as good. I think you said this too, TJ. Just as good as the first time.
Oh, yeah. I enjoyed it just as much.
But to see that movie followed up by this movie before another Marvel movie is, man, it's so refreshing that to me it felt like I was taking a nice cold ice bath. But at a good temperature, after a workout, refreshing. You just want to sit down and you're like, oh yeah, this is the stuff. That is how I felt watching this movie right after Top Gun, for sure. One thing that
I was just gonna in the first weekend, Jurassic World made $143.3 million. So
I don't know. Do you know how that compares? I should have looked this up, but do you know how that compares to the other two?
To Top Gun and stuff like that?
No, to
like openings of those?
Fallen Kingdom and World. I know is going to be bigger. World, I know probably is going to be. Yeah, I think World is bigger because World was the first one Which actually, now that I think I've seen all three of these in theaters, which is pretty dope. But I remember World being a big deal.
Oh, it was a big deal. I mean, it made over $1 billion. I mean, both the first two both made over $1 billion.
Oh, did Fallen Kingdom do that as well?
Yeah. I remember they were both big deals. I'd say the first one more so, but
the one thing I'll also emphasize that I kind of talked about a little bit before, but didn't go in depth with it as much as I would have liked to, is the merging of the two casts.
Yeah.
I thought that they were merged with a purpose. Mm-hmm. So it didn't feel like fan service. It actually felt like they were there together for a reason and not, again, just for the fan experience. And I really appreciated that. And I think it's that combined with the fact that all of these characters have been well casted, and I'm always interested in these characters for that fact. I think they all bring their own personalities, and including the new ones. I really loved the pilot character and the new guy that helped them navigate the sort of Apple headquarter like area in the Sanctuary. Yeah. Where the guy that looked very much like Tim Cook.
I was going to say that. I was going to say, if you don't, I was going to.
No one has mentioned that in podcasts that I've listened to. I don't get
how that hasn't been a thing yet.
But
it's so true.
Okay, for those that haven't seen the movie, just look up this guy. I can't remember the name of the actor, but look up the main.
Look up what he looks like in the movie.
Yes, that's a good point.
Writing this down.
The antagonist in the film, the guy who owns the, what is it called? It's like a bio life company thing.
I don't remember.
But not only does the Sanctuary headquarters look like the new Apple headquarters, but the dude that runs it looks very similar to Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple.
Yeah, the current CEO.
I don't think that's a coincidence, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
Oh, okay. So I just looked up the opening weekend of the first was 208 million, and then the opening of Fallen Kingdom was 148 million. So it wasn't much far off of the second one.
No, not at all.
Which definitely interesting.
I don't think the reviews are going to hurt this film nearly as much as some people might think, considering the reputation the other two films have given, which is a great theater experience, and that's what these films are, with all the huge dinosaurs. And TJ and I and my brother saw it in IMAX, which was a treat because you really felt those roars and and all that, and all the big dinosaurs, T-Rex, and everything moving around.
Yeah, I'm definitely glad we saw this one in IMAX. I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, reviews. I don't know. I feel like the reviews for this movie were weirdly low. Is the movie messy? Yes, I will say. I think in my opinion, yes, parts of this movie are very messy.
And if you want to get into those, we can definitely do the negatives now.
Yeah. I guess I'll kind of...
But continue with your thought or whatever.
But I think as a viewing experience, just as or as a fan experience, it doesn't take away. I don't think it's that bad.
That's a good point.
But I think as a movie, yes, it has its flaws. Like I said, it's very messy.
I just... It was funny because there are scenes where they're trying to build suspense and Jeff Goldblum is being Jeff Goldblum. And it is, I loved that so much because, yes, I could tell that the filmmaker was intentionally trying to build suspense, but Jeff Goldblum was, again, being Jeff Goldblum. So he was ruining that. But I was, from a critical response, you would dock that. But I loved that because it was just, Jeff is hilarious, man. He's like, the third button from below or the fourth button from whatever. It's just, he's a
victory. It's just like, it's all the the little things that he does that all his witty little one-liners.
Oh, his body language too.
Yeah, I mean he was always one of those characters that made the movie. I mean even in the first one, some of his quips and stuff like that. I mean, they're some of the most iconic parts of the movie, and I think they really channeled that in this.
He has the most iconic quote from the film, all the films, I would say, right? Life finds a way. Isn't that the most iconic? I feel like it is.
Yeah, I mean, he has some of the probably the most iconic line probably in movie history. I mean, Life Finds a Way is pretty damn popular.
Yeah.
It's definitely up there.
I wonder, I can't remember if it's on the AFI or not, top 100.
I mean,
I'll look.
I feel like it's one of those ones that, like, no, it's not as, like, deep or whatever as some of those might be, but I feel like it's one of those ones that's really ingrained itself in pop culture. That, like, and then, like, all, like, the gifts and stuff of Jeff Goldblum and, like, the first one, it's just, like, he's so, like, his character is so iconic already alongside the movie itself.
And this is part of the reason why I really enjoy Lost World, is because not only does he bring that personality that we love from the first one, but he also it's amplified, but he also, and he gets more screen time.
Yeah.
He's
the main character.
He is, exactly. But he also shows that he can handle action really well too.
Yeah.
Which I found pretty cool. And also that character can handle a leading role, which I don't think, of course I wasn't alive then or watching these movies then, but I don't know if I would have thought he could have after that first film going into the second one. I don't know if I would have thought, hey, I don't know if he can handle this role as the
lead.
As the lead.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting because I mean, in the first one, he doesn't have too much action in the grand scheme of things. He's kind of like the big side character, I'd say, where like Laura Dern and Sam Neill are getting most of the action. He's kind of the guy that's like heads most of like the kind of some of the other stuff. So I feel like it was at the time, it was a very interesting opinion to bring him back of all people for the sequel.
Right.
But I mean, at the time, I mean, it works. I think it's not everyone's favorite Jurassic Park movie, but I mean, I feel like I think it has its fan base that's truly stands by it, and I mean, for good reason. I think it's one of my favorites. For sure.
Now it's time to get into the bad, the negative, before we take a break and get into Seinfeld. So I already mentioned one, which is the dialogue.
Oh, yeah.
There are moments, especially at the beginning, and one scene in particular with Sam Neill's character and Laura Dern's character where they first meet, that you really notice it. But there are some lines that straight up feel stock, and cliche.
I feel like even some of like the beginning, like parts with Chris Pratt.
Oh no, that's what I'm saying though. But I was saying that specifically as one of the examples. But
yeah, I feel like a lot of the setup felt very stock at points.
It did.
Yeah, I mean, once you get past it gets better to a degree.
It does. As I think we both agree that as the movie goes on, the movie gets better.
Yes,
because
I'd say so.
At the beginning, and this is, I don't mean to jump on maybe what you were going to talk about, TJ, but another flaw is that it doesn't really know what it wants to be genre-wise or plot-wise.
Yes.
And speed-wise, too, how fast the movie wants to go.
Yeah, the furnace is on.
God damn it.
I'll continue talking. I was talking with my dad about this, 2 days ago? The day after we saw it, so, I don't remember what day. Oh, there goes the light. But he was like, I enjoyed this movie, but it's so weird seeing how the tones that this movie tries to go for. Because he's like, the first half feels like an action movie. The second half feels like a Jurassic Park movie. And I had that same thing when we walked out. It's like, I turned to you and I was like, I feel like this movie doesn't know what it wants to be for the first half. Like, it feels almost like it's trying to be a Jason Bourne movie at points.
It does. And you pointed this out, which is one of the shots is very much...
Well, they recreated like a scene from Jason Bourne.
Where he's jumping through all the different buildings in Ultimatum.
Yeah.
Which is my favorite Bourne movie. Fantastic action film.
Oh, yeah, it's great. But, like, the first half, it almost feels like it's trying to be an action movie. Or more of, like, a spy action movie, like, with, like, all these, like, conspiracies and, like, globe-trotting, whatever. and it just feels like a spy movie almost. And then once they finally get into the like the setting of the final bit, it turns into a Jurassic Park movie. It truly gets into that groove. I mean, both halves are good, like good in their own little ways. I mean,
they both have good moments.
The action of the first half, like almost like action movie spy half. It's fantastic. I thought it was super fun, and I thought like I just like had a fun time with it. But I think it's the clash between the two. I feel like sometimes it took a while for it to really settle into its rhythm, and like sometimes the difference in between them is definitely a problem.
It is. Ditto to what you said. By itself, the action is cool. That idea is cool.
Yeah.
But when you're actually trying to create a movie from beginning to end, it doesn't really work out ultimately.
Yeah. I mean, it's enjoyable. And
we'll be right back.
Oh, what? All right, am I good to go now?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
We're back.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt like even within the first half, the difference between like the two storylines, like the two big storylines going at it, like Chris Pratt's feels very actiony, and it like once the like hook happens, it's like nonstop, like stuff's happening, and then you get to Laura Dern and Sam Neill's part, and it feels like it's a lot slower. It's more dialogue based. It's more like a mystery, and like even in between, like even in that first half, there's like clash between the like those fourths, and it creates even more like plot clash
and disconnect.
Yeah,
because it feels.
Oh, there's my phone.
Oh, what is that? With that too, when you combine that with also the plot, how different the plots are between them, It does truly feel as if you are watching two different movies.
Yeah, the pacing is very different. But I mean, I enjoyed it still. I didn't think
yeah.
I didn't think it was that bad. But yes, it does take away from the movie as a whole, I'd say.
Agreed. The one other thing I'll mention with the dialogue, since we didn't talk about it ad nauseum,
you can go into that.
Yeah, you really notice it because you have great actors in this film. For example, Laura Dern is a great character actor. When you listen to her, you realize she is not, that dialogue is not intelligent as some of the dialogue she's worked with many of her other characters, whether it's a David Lynch film or whatever, other movies, Marriage Story, whatever.
Yeah.
It's really evident when bad dialogue is working with good actors, and there's even some cliche lines that are said in the trailer as well.
Yeah.
Sam Neill has some of those with her, but like we both said, eventually it works its kinks out, comes to a fun conclusion. Mm-hmm. And I really do applaud all the characters that were implemented in this film. I was very pleased with how that all worked out. I can't understate that enough. I was extremely worried going in that these new characters were going to take away from the goal of the film with bringing the two original casts together, but it worked out really well.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's the thing with like most of the Jurassic Worlds, because like I feel like for every one of them they introduce a new little cast of characters, and they never have like a true set, which is really weird. But honestly, it isn't that bad. With like where it's the kids in the first one, and then it's Justice Smith and Faye from the live action Cowboy Bebop, or it's the pilot,
the best version of Cowboy Bebop, right? Better than the anime.
Totally. I totally loved that show.
Oh man,
I can't understate how.
I feel like that's a Sauna Sunday rant that's going to show up at one point. You're just going to go hard on the.
Oh yeah,
on the live action.
I've been meaning to like kind of go back and watch some of those old episodes, like the original series. Just kind of like, I mean, it's one season, so it's not like it's going to be that hard to watch, but
no.
I probably will once I get into it again, because
It's peak television, the live action one.
Oh yeah, if you know me, you know I love Cowboy Bebop.
Right.
And
One of your all timers.
It's like all time favorite TV show. That and Twin Peaks really duke it out. But that show, yes, it has its moments, and I will applaud it in some regards. As a whole, though, it sucks. I cannot understate it enough.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, yeah. Oh, well, and then with side characters. And then this one brings in, like, the pilot and, what's his face? The guy who works for Evil Tim Cook.
Yeah, I don't know that. I really should know the name of them. I don't. I'll look it up.
Yeah, I just remember their characters. But
he kind of gives tours, or he does something.
Yeah, Mr. Man. I'll call him that.
Yes, Mr. Man.
And honestly, every time, like, it's weird that they bring in a new cast every time, but it is still interesting, and I do think that the characters are fun every time.
This one did a better job, I will say, because I thought they were just going to totally leave out Detective Pikachu guy.
Oh, Justice
Smith, and
what's her face?
Daniela Pineda, I think that's how you say her name.
I think so.
Anyway, I thought they were going to completely leave them out, but I'm glad they tied them off so we actually knew what they were doing and they weren't just...
Yeah.
They were just like, oh, they're gone.
Yeah.
They just didn't exist.
Oh, shit. God damn it.
Which was my issue with after the first one.
Yeah. I am interested to see, like, if they honestly would have had a bigger part if they weren't working on other projects.
Is that a thing?
Because I think the one girl might have been working on Cowboy Bebop, and then Justice Smith was working on The Quarry.
Oh,
where he's getting decked out in mocap suits. Since he's like a main character in that.
Okay.
I mean, they're both leads of shows and stuff, so I wonder if that really took away from their ability to be in another Jurassic World.
It could have been.
Yeah. Because, I mean, they're in the first bit, so maybe they were like, hey, film more, and they were like, no.
Good. Yeah, that is a good point, and that might be true. Well, TJ, before we end this discussion here, this spoiler-free discussion on Jurassic World Dominion, thumbs up. You should go see it in the theater.
Oh yeah, I totally stand by. It's a fun movie. Don't listen to critics that much. Yes, they have some
there is some validity to validity to their
there's validity to their opinions as the movie as a movie. As a viewing experience, though, listen to the audience. It's fun. It's if you like Jurassic Park and you like the other two Jurassic World movies, you'll probably like this one. It's pretty well done.
Agreed.
I rest my case.
Yeah, you couldn't tell if you were. There was a couple seconds where I was like, "Is he going to go on?" No, I'm just kidding. Agreed. Thumbs up as well. Go see it in the theater. If you can see it in IMAX, do that too. We kind of alluded to this. We talked about this halfway through the review. It is a great experience in IMAX, and definitely is heightened with IMAX.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, go check it out if you can. And we hope you enjoyed our spoiler-free review on Jurassic Dominion. Jurassic Dominion, yes. Jurassic World Dominion. And when we come back, we'll talk about Seinfeld. Wow.
What a nice snap.
Wow. Gold, Jerry. On that note...
Will there ban you?
On that note, we have entered our Seinfeld spoiler discussion. We're talking about all seasons, all episodes. Nothing will be left behind. No, I'm just kidding. But we're gonna go in depth as we feel like for the recap of the show, our thoughts on the show, why it's iconic, all that sort of stuff. So I guess I'll start with TJ. This is a question for you. Put down your phone. I'm just kidding. What is your history with Seinfeld? And
yeah,
let's start with that.
I mean, I've been watching Seinfeld for forever. It's one of those shows that I can't get my hair right. Anyway, I don't really care. I've been watching Seinfeld forever, just like through TV. I mean, it's one of my favorite, like my parents' favorite shows. they're always watching it when it's on TV. And by proxy, I'd seen quite a bit of the show already, like out of order, just through TV. And I knew a lot of like iconic bits and stuff like that. I had a good grasp on the show, but I finally decided to go through it when it went on Netflix in November?
Something
Yeah.
of that time frame.
I don't know. I started around then. And I slowly made my way through. It wasn't like my biggest priority to finish. But I mean, I love the show. It's definitely up there for me. It's definitely one of those shows I can throw on anytime, and I love whatever episode I'm watching, even if it's not even the greatest episode of the show.
Cough, cough, the finale.
I don't mind the finale that much.
We can get into this later if we
Yes.
want. So I've been on this journey, which I don't know if I'll do it now. If you're cool with it.
Go for it.
Okay.
Yeah, do your spiel.
Yes. So I've been on the sitcom journey to figure out what the greatest sitcom of all time is, and this all spawned because our friend Austin was convinced that Friends was the greatest sitcom of all time, and there was all this hype for Friends, and there still is. It's had a renaissance with our kind of generation, and so it was getting a lot of hype and people claiming, "Oh, it's the greatest sitcom of all time," and I was very skeptical. And
No, we all know that that's The Office.
of course, especially the last 2 seasons, bro. Are you kidding me?
Oh my god. You know it.
But and also the Office fans have also said, "Oh, it's the greatest sitcom of all time," and that was a big thing as well, even before Friends. Because The Office hit our generation before Friends did. It's Renaissance.
The Office, it had a big like kick with our generation, like when we were going through high school, and it was annoying.
I would say for us, The Office was 8th grade, freshman year, and then sophomore year, you could start to see the hype for our generation going from The Office to Friends. I think so. Our sophomore year and junior year,
I feel like it got more annoying senior year.
For The Office?
Yes.
And then what do you think? When do you think the renaissance for The Office Friends started?
I don't know. I feel like I've only really felt that renaissance for for Friends with older people in our generation. I haven't felt it with high schoolers.
Really?
Yeah, I feel like for me at least, everyone who I've talked to about Friends with, they're either our age or older.
Well, that's what I mean, though.
Well, but I mean, like
around our.
But like, I feel like when I was in high school, I didn't hear anyone talk about Friends.
Interesting.
I heard everyone talk about The Office nonstop, and they would not shut up about it. And they're like, "It's the greatest show ever," and I was like, "No, it's not. It's good and it has its moments, but
it is iconic still."
Yes, and it is iconic, but it is not the only thing under the sun. You can talk about literally any other show. It's not hard. And I felt like everyone was like, I'm on my 15th rewatch of The Office.
Yeah, that was annoying. I was
just like, watch anything else. It's not hard.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
You have a thing called Netflix that has tons of good shows. Watch something.
I concur with that sentiment. But anyway, back to my journey here.
Oh yes, do that.
So I was going around. I've been watching what are known as some of the greatest, the A-listers as far as sitcoms are concerned. So far I've watched Cheers, Friends, MASH, and now Seinfeld. I mean, you're talking about some major heavy hitters in the sitcom field.
Oh yeah, some of the best.
Some of the best. And so this is my latest stop on the journey was Seinfeld. And yeah, it is definitely up there. And this was my first bout with it, too. I never had watched any episodes here or there like you had prior. I'll admit I was slightly skeptical, especially after the first 2 seasons, which weren't the greatest. Well, let's be honest. They definitely were shaky at times. But once that 3rd season, 4th season rolled around, I started to realize why people considered it debatably the greatest sitcom of all time. I'm a big Friends guy. I think my favorite sitcom is it's kind of funny. Reflection changes a lot of things, and for me, honestly, it might be actually MASH or Friends.
Oh yeah.
And maybe it's just the taste that MASH left with me. By the way, if you haven't seen MASH, check it out. The finale is incredible.
Oh yeah.
That is how you make a sitcom finale.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've seen the finale, like, and I haven't even seen most of the show, and I'm like, this is it. This is how, I don't even have like the biggest connection with these characters, but this is how you do it.
It's how you bring in the emotion that the audience has with these characters after 11 years. It's how you write an interesting storyline to end what has all been culminating to this point. It really is textbook, and just much, and we can have a MASH episode if we want later on down the road, but that is essentially what MASH is. It is a textbook for the sitcoms to follow as far as how to make a sitcom from the storyline perspective, which we'll get into how this Seinfeld actually kind of broke this norm, but what MASH created was the whole A plot, B plot thing, where it was a drama plot and a comedy plot that come together at the end. There was nothing like that before MASH, and again, we'll talk about it later. Seinfeld actually breaks that, but you were saying.
I feel like MASH is like the godfather of Seinfeld, or not Seinfeld, like sitcoms in general. I feel like it's the sitcom that created truly what we know as a sitcom.
It is.
Yes, there are like prior ones like I Love Lucy and stuff like that,
Which are great.
Which are classic and important in their own ways.
Oh yeah.
But I think when it comes to like, it's kind of like almost like how I view Star Wars with like movies. It's MASH is kind of that, like it's the important force that shows here's what sitcoms can be. Here's how you should structure one. Here's how to do it. And I mean, everyone copy and pasted it. Not that that's bad, because I mean, it's a formula that works.
If it's a formula that works, use it.
Yeah. Don't try and go off the beaten path and try something new that doesn't work unless you have something that actually works, like Seinfeld.
And Seinfeld, like I said, we'll get into this. Actually, we can get into this now because we can talk about why it is so iconic. But Seinfeld does tend to break that mold as far as a standard A plot and standard B plot. Now, there are several episodes where it does do that.
Yeah.
But a lot of the episodes, what they do, instead of having the A plot, B plot, is they actually go from an individual character perspective. So they take each individual character
and make a plot.
And make a plot. They give them their own plots that will either culminate in one thing at the end, one sort of climax at the end, or sometimes it won't, and they just kind of all branch off in their own thing. But that is one of the iconic bits with Seinfeld is it is more than two plot lines. It is four plot lines usually, because you have Kramer, Jerry, George, and Elaine. And then, whereas often, even with all the other characters with the other sitcoms, it would be just your A and B plot, like MASH.
Yeah, I think Friends kind of does that every now and then. I feel like it's a little after, like a little later, where they truly kind of like break off, like character, like sometimes it's duos, but like
duos. I agree with that sentence. Yes.
But like where it's more like character based and not just like, hey, here's half of the cast doing this and half of the cast doing that, and then it still follows that formula, but it's with halves of the cast and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, that's always one of the things I've found very refreshing about Seinfeld is everyone has something to do. No one is truly useless in an episode. They're either, even if they're in the background doing next to nothing, they're always doing jokes or like setting up or saying stupid shit that ultimately comes back in the end in someone else's storyline or something like that. It's super good. I love it.
It is. Another reason why Seinfeld is so iconic, and probably the most notable reason, the reason that most people know of, is the idea that none of them are likable characters.
Yeah.
There are some moments where they are definitely likable, but as a whole, that's kind of the point of the show, is they're not very likable people. But it's not just that. It's the fact that they were able to make unlikable characters likable. Yeah. Because of the very ordinary and relatable situations that the characters are put in.
Yeah.
So it is iconic in the sense that they were able to make unlikable characters likable, because that was never really heard of. You wouldn't want to start a show with unlikable people, because that's how you get a show canceled.
Yeah.
You have to have charismatic characters like a Hawkeye from MASH, or Ted Danson in Cheers.
Yeah.
You have to have a likable character, but Larry David and Jerry were like, you know what?
Nah,
I'm good.
Yeah. They're charismatic and funny, but like the situations they put themselves in make them out to be shitty people. And it's like, that's where the comedy comes from, is that like they put themselves in a situation that is obviously really stupid. And it's like the comeuppance they get at the end that helps like really sell the punchline. And yes, they're not likable characters, but I mean, each of them has a charm, and there's like that sense of just like they're just normal people that really helps sell the ability to like the like unlikable characters.
I mean, look at Jerry. Jerry breaks up with a lot of women for stupid reasons.
She has man hands.
Yeah, and mean reasons.
Oh yeah,
but that ultimately makes the show funnier.
Yeah. I mean, how many girlfriends does he go through in the whole show? Like 70?
Oh my gosh. It seems, at times it feels like every episode he's breaking up with a girl.
Because most times he is.
Yeah.
I think very few of them actually carry over. Like, I think I can only think of one.
Who?
The girl who's ultimately leaves him for one of the Kennedys in the contest.
Okay, she was in 2?
Yeah, she's in the one before.
Okay.
She's the lady who's like scared to get with Jerry because she's a virgin.
Okay.
Yeah, she
Yes.
comes in for 2, and then I think she comes in for the finale as well.
That would make sense. That is one thing that I did enjoy about the finale. In
Yes.
case we don't get back to it, is they gave nice service to all the characters that made the show besides the original 4.
Yeah.
And that is one thing that I appreciated about that.
Yeah. Let's just. Do you want to?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
We've danced around it.
We've danced around it.
Yeah.
So I really, and again, I don't mean to compare it to the MASH finale, because that truly is a fantastic ending to a television show. But if I put my blinders on and I'm focusing on this finale,
it's not great.
It's not great. It doesn't give us and I know, I think Larry David was talking about how he was kind of going for this, but it doesn't give us that somewhat standard. We have this emotion for all these characters, and we've bonded and went through this journey with these characters, and he doesn't give us a payoff for that.
Yeah, it's really weird.
And I just I didn't like that. I'll be honest.
I think in general, I think it's one of the most debatable finales ever. I think it's one of those ones where you either really like it or you really don't. And I think, or I feel like you either really like some aspects or you really hate others. And I feel like I kind of ride that line where it's like some aspects are really, I think I handled really well. Like I like the inclusion of other characters, like all the like little side characters.
That's great.
And I like how they bring in like all these little side characters from like season 3 and 4 and all that, like some of those early seasons. And then at the same time, some of the writing is to be desired, because it's as good as it can be every now and then. The opening like 15 minutes, they feel really awkward. And it's because, I mean, Larry David hadn't been writing for the show for, 2 seasons at that point, practically.
Was he working on Curb at that point?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think Curb is a few years after.
What do you mean by Curb is Curb Your Enthusiasm?
Yeah, his HBO show.
Which is going on for its 12th season.
Yeah, people still love that show. It's fantastic.
It is essentially especially, well, at more times than others, it is an adult version of Seinfeld in many ways.
It's more adult. It's a lot drier. Like it's very just more frank and just upfront. It is it's definitely more. I mean, it does have Seinfeld energy where
Oh, it does.
it's the actor playing themselves with a bunch of stupid side characters that
Yeah.
help make it.
For example, Ted Danson. I've only seen 2 episodes, but in one episode I watched Ted Danson comes in and plays himself. It's that sort of
Is
thing.
he in one of the first episodes?
He's in the 2nd episode.
How do I not remember that?
Yeah, it's one where they go bowling, and yeah, it's
I feel like I remember that part.
yeah, they go bowling, and I can't remember. I think Larry accidentally walks off with the bowling shoes or something like that.
That sounds like a Curb Your Enthusiasm plot.
Or someone else stole his shoes. I can't remember. It's been a while, but that is a show at some point I do want to get into because I love Seinfeld
It's
so much.
so funny. But the finale.
Yes, go back to it.
I mean, Larry David hadn't been writing the show for 2 seasons, like I said, and him coming back to the show with like what feels like early show writing, it's so awkward. It just starts and it automatically feels different. It feels like you're trying to watch an episode or season 4 episode, and it's like, why is it like this? I mean, yes, there are still funny parts to it, but overall, it still just feels awkward. And I mean, it's like that for 15-ish minutes, maybe even 20. And then it slowly becomes like the middle part where they bring back all the characters, and they truly like have fun, kind of like just like being sarcastic towards the characters, which is really, I think it's the best part of the episode. That being said, the final part of it, how the show ends.
I mean, I see what they were going for because it's the idea that they're terrible people and they end up all going to prison. And it's the whole culmination of this is what they get for being jerks.
Yeah.
But the way they go about it, and it doesn't feel natural in any way.
No.
And there's one scene of them, I think it's in the credits where it shows Jerry with the joke or something. It doesn't feel natural in any way.
Yeah, I mean, comparing it to Friends, it's very weird because like Friends, it feels natural to the last moment. It feels, and it has all the emotional payoffs that you want. And even in the last moments, it has Chandler making quips as he always does.
Where Rachel says, "Should we go get coffee?" And Chandler's like, "Where?"
Yeah, I mean, it's such a good ending, and it really like it's the show through and through from moment one to moment, like the beginning to the end. It feels the same show. Seinfeld doesn't have that. It feels like it goes through this weird cyclical Larry David period, and then no Larry David period, which is still pretty fun, and then the weird finale where Larry David tries to go back to that old feel but can't do it, and then fails to do this weird finale thing that he's trying to do. It's really weird. I don't hate the episode, but I don't love it either. It's definitely it's towards the bottom of like all of them.
Yeah, you're higher on it than I am, but
yeah, I mean, I don't love it. I'd say it's probably like bottom 10 episodes of the whole show.
Okay, yeah.
It's not great, but I think parts of it are better than others. Is it the worst episode? No, there's definitely worse episodes, but oh god, I think what it does well, it does well, and then the rest of it is, yikes.
It is. It is. The last thing I'll mention before we get into our favorite episodes, talking about the seasons and the characters, we have the other thing I'll mention as far as why the show is iconic, and I wanted to add this in because this one's a little more subtle. They didn't nearly use as much of the multi-camera setup, play-like setup that Friends, for example, did. They did a lot of single camera work, especially with the pre-taped things going down the streets and stuff like that. That is another notable feature that the show has that a lot of other shows didn't, like Cheers and and Friends. Moving on, well, actually, real quickly, we'll take a break, and then we'll move on to our favorite episodes, favorite seasons, and favorite characters.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we are back from our break, and TJ has made the executive decision
What?
to... No, I agree with him as well. To talk about the characters, the individual characters. TJ, I think we'll do it in this order. Who is your favorite character? And we'll talk about him.
I'd say, I will preface this by, honestly, on a dime, I'd say that most of these characters in my ranking could change depending on the day. I think it depends on what vibe I'm going for. But I think consistently, I think my favorite character is probably Jerry.
Okay. And why?
I mean, I like that he's kind of like the voice of reason. I mean, he's like the main character. That like, I mean, he's the guy with his name on the show, and I like that he is kind of like the look into the chaos that is all of his friends as well.
I appreciate his character because of the quality he has to Bateman's character, Jason Bateman's character in Arrested Development.
Yeah.
Which he has that character has the ability to sort of react to all the insanity that's going on around him. Now, Jerry's a little bit more quirky than Jason Bateman's character is.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, he has that quality to him, and I do find those characters interesting. In fact, I think Jason Bateman's character in Arrested Development is my favorite of that group, although Will Arnett's pretty funny in that
so
show
funny
as well. But I do like that quality in those type of characters. But what I like about Jerry is the fact that he has that, but then he also is quirky and goes along with sort of the insanity at times, whereas Jason Bateman's character, I don't mean to make this some sort of comparison moment here, but Jason's character is very much I'm normal and reacting to everything that's going around. Yeah. So for Jerry to be involved in all of that
he'll mock
fun.
everyone else, but he'll also join in.
Yeah. And be his stupid self.
Yeah. He gets into just as many stupid situations as the rest of them. Even though he is kind of the judgy one that makes fun of them for everyone else's stupidity.
Yeah,
I think I just like how and I mean he's just the guy that everyone comes to for all of their little problems and like to rant about them and just like get the opinions and stuff like that.
And it's fun too when he eggs people on and contributes to the insanity. Before this podcast episode, we were watching The Slicer. I think that's the name of the episode.
I can't remember.
Yeah, The Slicer. And Kramer, he's making his thin slices of meat. He's super proud that he's like all the whatever flavor is nowhere to escape, he says. And he talks about getting more meat, and Jerry's like, "Oh, go in the freezer, or go in
our storeroom.
Go in our storeroom." And it's just one line, and Kramer kind of reacts to it in his very Kramer-esque way. But it's lines like that and moments of that nature that add to that makes his character so fun because he adds to the insanity of Kramer and upholding Kramer's crazy world that he wants to believe in and creates.
Yeah. I think that's a good segue into Kramer.
Yes, Kramer, my favorite character. I love this character so much because I have come across many crazy, quirky characters in television. I have never come across a character that is completely sold on whatever he does.
Yeah.
Everything he does, he is 100% invested in, whether it's Kramerica, or the greatest company of all time, or the company that never was, or adopting a highway and blacking out the median. So all these cars end up crashing into each other. It's that idea of him being invested in everything, and his facial expressions are so quirky and visceral at times, and just bananas. the way he contributes to the other characters' very mundane situations in a very crazy manner.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, he is a treat to watch, and it is reflected in my all-time favorite episodes, which again we'll get to wrap up this podcast episode. But yeah, what do you think of? What are your thoughts on Kramer, TJ?
I mean, you can't go wrong with Kramer. I mean, he's like one. I'd say he's probably one of the more iconic characters of the bunch. And I mean, for good measure. I mean, like I said, he sells the way he's like. Oh God, who's the actor for him? I can never remember.
Got you.
It's not Jason Alexander because that's George.
Right. Who does Jerry Seinfeld play? No, I'm just kidding.
But like the ability for him to just go into every bit with such like visceral, it's like movements and just like crazy over the top everything. He really sells the over the top nature of Kramer.
Michael Richards is
Richards, yeah.
actor.
I mean, he's just such a fun character. I mean, whether he's blacking out highway signs or slicing meat or whatever stupid little thing he's trying to do, he goes into it with 100% certainty. He whatever stupid idea like he runs with, it's probably wrong, but that's what makes it even more funny.
What are you talking about, bro? Kramerica was a beautiful idea, and then
oh yeah,
putting oil in yoga balls.
And then dropping them on ladies.
Beautiful idea. I don't see any issue with that. True art. But yeah, I agree with everything you said there. And he adds that that insanity to a lot of the very normal events that sometimes go on.
Yeah.
And he ignites a fire in several episodes that at some points have really feel like they are dead in the water at times. There are a few episodes where they're not some of the greatest episodes, but you'll have those Kramer moments that'll make them memorable. For example, now this isn't a bad episode as a whole, but an example is this pertains to the later seasons, which aren't nearly as good quality wise as some of the originals. But you have like the Merv Griffin set thing where it's so outlandish but totally Kramer.
Oh yeah,
and makes that later season memorable, even though it isn't nearly as iconic as this and nearly as good as the seasons that came before.
Yeah, the one that always comes to my mind is like it's not the greatest episode, but the one where the lady gets the nose job, and
right?
Everyone's like, she's such a pretty girl, and then like to her face, she's like, yeah, if she got a nose job, like it's totally normal, and then everyone's like, you can't be saying that. That is so funny.
Oh, that's another thing too that makes him great is when he's disconnected to the situation. He doesn't know when to stop.
Yeah, he'll say whatever, and then he'll be like, what?
Yeah,
I didn't say anything.
Yeah, he has one of those very Kramer like sort of fidgets and is.
Oh yeah.
What? TJ, moving on. I'll go with my second favorite character.
Okay.
Which is Frank Costanza.
Oh, you put them in there too?
Yeah. Oh, did you not?
No, I just did the 4.
Oh. Would it change if you put those other ones in there? I did a top 3. Did you do a top 3? What'd you do?
I did
you did all 4?
I just did the 4.
Okay.
I don't know what's happening at this point.
That's okay. No, I was originally going to do that too. But off the top of your head, I'm saying, do you know if it would have changed it?
Ooh, I don't know.
Okay.
Frank is good, though. I love Frank.
Frank is good because, like Kramer, he is uncensored. And, Serenity now! Serenity now!
Oh, yeah.
I love it. Some of the moments that make me laugh the most is, for example, when he hits George on the head. He hits George on the head several times when George is being an idiot. And the way he makes fun of George is... He really... Because George inherently, right, he is a very just depressing character because he just does nothing and wants to do nothing.
Yeah.
And is just lazy. And Frank is perfect because he calls him out on that and about why don't you have a job or whatever, and calls him out on George just being George, which is being an idiot a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And so I love him for that. But just the way when he yells and
It's so over the top.
It's so over the top. And rest in peace to Jerry Stiller. What a
guy.
What a guy. I didn't know who he was really before the show, and and much like a lot of people who watch, especially younger people who watch this show, it really introduced them to Jerry Stiller because he was in television and in Hollywood for a long time. Him and his wife, who I can't remember her name, but their son is Ben Stiller.
Yeah.
They were in television and in movies forever and forever.
Yeah.
Before Seinfeld. This was later on in his career when he wasn't really doing much. And he just he got this Seinfeld gig, and it introduced him to a lot of people, including myself.
Yeah, and I mean, he's one of the most iconic and memorable characters from the show. I mean,
I literally just quoted Serenity Now, one of the more famous parts of the show, lines of the show.
Yeah, I mean, if you were to ask, I think if you were just to show people like a good handful of episodes, most people will like immediately love George's dad, because I mean, he's so over the top and just like he's so funny. It's hard not to love his character. I mean, he doesn't show up that often. Every now and then, like that is one weird thing about like the parents and even like Newman and stuff like that in the show. Like they're main characters, but they're also side characters, so they're like this weird like gray area. But also they go through phases of like being in the plot, because like I feel like with the Costanza parents, they're in a lot of like seasons 4 and 5, and then they kind of fall out, and they're only in a few episodes like in the last few, and then where it's like the inverse for Jerry's parents, where it's like they're only in a few of the first ones, and then they're on a lot of the ending ones. So I mean, when they're in the show, they're so memorable.
So you're saying that's weird?
It feels like I was talking with my dad about it, because I mean he's been watching the show forever, and he's like, it's hard for him to believe that like most of the like Jerry Stiller episodes are only in like the first half of the show. Like, I mean, yes, he has some like famous stuff at the end, but like most of his stuff is honestly towards the beginning, and it's in like seasons like, I mean, he's introduced in like 3, and like he has a run from like 4 to like 6 where he's in like a consistent bit of episodes. Then he kind of just disappears, and then he shows up like once or twice a season, and then but like it's weird that like they're in such a dense amount of episodes, and they like establish them as such a main character, and then they just poof disappear.
I sort of agree, although they're set. I didn't find that weird because they were set up like many side characters in sitcom shows, so I knew that they, even if they were in a lot of episodes, one after another, they were still going to disappear for chunks.
Yeah, well, I get that, but it was just like they're so established in bits of the show, and then they just poof disappear and appear like once a season, and then you're supposed to feel like that main side character energy. I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah.
I think it's just because like for me, I've always felt like they're in so much more of the show.
That is true. That is a good point. I agree with that.
Well, I mean, when I've grown up, like I've seen so many of the show, or so much of the show already, and I felt like I saw so much of them just in general through episodes. And then when I was watching, I was like, wow, their episodes are really dense. And then he kind of just disappeared. Then you get the Serenity Now stuff and Festivus at the end, and it's just like, oh, cool. Where is he in like half of these seasons though? But I mean,
Festivus.
Dude, Festivus is so funny.
In that episode, doesn't Elaine bring her boyfriend to the dinner? Or someone brings someone to it. I can't remember who it is, and it's just...
George brings Kruger, and then Kramer brings the guys from the betting office.
That's who it was.
Yeah, they come in like earlier in the episode. I can't remember why, but they do.
And they were just so confused and shook. I thought that was the funniest thing.
Oh yeah, that whole ending of that episode is so funny.
Oh, poor George, man. Poor George. But yeah, that's kind of you're kind of done with what you were talking about with the weirdness.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind it that much. I do find it. I just find it's a weird like, it's weird that like they're such iconic characters, but in the grand scheme of things, he's not in that much of the show.
Yeah,
he's only in maybe like, I'd say like a season's worth of episodes, maybe two seasons.
I would say 2. Yeah, I'd go with 2.
Actually, I want to see now. And a few of them, he's only in like one scene, and then maybe gives like one line, and then he just disappears again.
The one other thing that I'll point out with Frank and why I love him so much is how when he complains. He complains a lot, funny. And I can't remember the episode, but there's a part where they're in the booth, and he talks about, no, we can't be at this part of the restaurant or whatever. We can't be in the booth. It's too cold here, or his wife says like, oh, it's too cold here. We shouldn't have been in the booth, and he's like, oh, but you told us, you said that we should go to this booth, or it just the arguments and the complaints he puts out in public,
so funny.
Never misses, and. Really, the character in general never misses. There isn't ever a dull moment with him, writing-wise or acting-wise.
Okay, I found it. He's in 24.
And there's how many episodes to a season? There's 20, right?
Yeah.
More or less. Okay, so you were right the first time.
Yeah, how many episodes are in like the whole show?
I was wrong. All right, like I'm going to leave. Bye.
Like 170 episodes in the whole show.
There's 70 you said in the whole show?
170.
Oh, 170. I was like, yeah, okay, that makes more sense.
And then Newman's in 43. Estelle, which is George's mom, is in 25. Jerry's mom is in 20, and Jerry's dad is in 19. And Uncle Lee is in 14.
That is one thing, though, that actually is good about those characters, is they have a bigger impression than they actually do time-wise, which I think is actually, you were saying that was somewhat a negative, or you were saying made it weird?
It's weird. It's weird that, like, I feel like you see a lot of their stuff on TV, and they're just like, it's so, their bits are so like played because they're so memorable, but like they're so few and far between. It's not okay. I don't think it's a negative as a whole, because I mean, yes, like you said, it makes more of an impression, but it's weird to see that they disappear for so long in chunks of the show. Like, you would feel that it's generally spaced out. No, it's like 20 episodes in the span of 2 seasons, and then they disappear and show up in like 4 for the rest. It's super weird. I don't know if they're doing other things and they just didn't come in, but like it just felt like it's weird to space out your character that much. Like, I don't mind a side character being spaced out. I mean, look at Putty for instance.
He is a really spaced out character.
Yeah, he shows up in 2 seasons in like season 6. And then he becomes more of a main character at the end, but like,
high five.
Yeah. But like, at least he has like, I don't know where I was going with that, but like, I don't remember where I was going at that point.
Well,
I don't know.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. But I think that makes part of your reasoning makes it good, which I was kind of talking about, is that idea of they make a huge impression on the show, and that is totally a testament to the portrayal of those characters, the acting job, and
it's mostly a good thing that like they're so impressionable, and they're so like, I mean, they're so iconic for a reason. It's just weird that like they disappear for long swaths of time with no explanation, no nothing, and then they just show up and they're like, hey, it's almost like I never disappeared. And it's like, you have been in the show for 2 seasons. What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
You're supposed to kind of it just feels weird. Not that that's a awful thing. I don't know. It's just me. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
TJ, who is your second favorite character?
Oh God.
And we'll again preface this by saying you just did the original 4.
I just did the main 4.
The main 4, yeah.
I might have to go George.
Okay.
I mean, he's George. Can't go wrong with George.
He's a lazy,
He's
funny,
an idiot.
bald man.
Yeah, he's a short idiot that is
Does the least
such a
amount of work
moron.
possible,
yeah.
which is usually no work.
Yeah. Like, I mean, he's the epitome of just stupid situations. Every episode he seems to get into like the dumbest situation possible. And like Kramer, he does kind of go into it with like this like nature that he's just like, I'm going to do it and I'm going to do it the way I want to. Half the time it backfires on him and he makes him look like more of an idiot, but
That's a good point.
I mean, sometimes he's just so dedicated to the cause of stupidity that it works. Because I mean, like, look at the one where, like, everyone wants him to leave his job, but he's just like, I'm not leaving. And then every day he just like crawls into his office through the vent, and it's just like, dude, take the hint.
That is a good quality of George that I like. Where oddly, it's counterproductive and it's ironic that he doesn't want to do any work in his actual job, yet he does a crap ton of work to get out of that job.
It's so funny.
Which makes it, so funny. And I remember the part where he wants to get fired because the Mets want to hire him.
Yes.
I believe it's the Mets. So he ties their Major League Baseball World Series championship trophy to his car
and
starts driving around the parking lot. But that whole episode, he's doing all these things and putting in time and putting in work to get fired, when it's ironic because he didn't want to put any work and doesn't want to put in any work anyway.
Yeah, to his normal job.
So it's just he is a funny bald man.
Oh yeah. I mean,
man.
Yeah, he's definitely one of those characters that, like, whatever stupid situation he gets himself into, it's always caused to be hilarious. I mean, whether he accidentally thinks a house is burning down or
shoves the grandma.
Yeah, shoves the grandma and all the little kids out of the way.
Oh boy.
Or he's eating an eclair out of the garbage. It's just like everything is so, like, it's just so painfully awkward but so painfully hilarious. And it's so good.
And all his childhood stories with his parents never fails to make me laugh because it is the most horrible
it's so funny
stuff, but and is exemplified and culminates in the fact that he has all those.
He's a total moron.
He's a total moron, but then it really is shown when he's trying to get that apartment.
Oh my god!
And he has all of the board members crying after the fact. They just heard a story from a guy who survived a shipwreck. So, and that I should mention with that moment too, it's perfect because we hear all these stories about George's haunting and disturbing childhood, and then you really see it on these people as they cry, and
it's so good.
It is, oh man, it is so funny. All right, moving on for my third, and I just did 3. For my third character, and TJ, we can talk about her together because obviously she's on your list because you did 4, is Elaine.
Yeah.
I had her at 3. I don't know. Is it okay if you tell us where you have it on your list?
I mean...
Or do you want to...
I think today, I don't know. Like I said earlier, any one of these characters could have like a personal switch for me any day. Mm-hmm. Today, I don't know why, but I was feeling her at the bottom of the 4.
Okay.
I don't know if I was watching an episode where Kramer was being a moron while I was doing this, or what. But
well, we were watching an episode of Kramer while he was...
Yeah. But I mean, you can't go wrong with Elaine. She's, I think she's kind of like, she kind of has Jerry energy, but also kind of has like where she kind of has that she's not a total moron like Kramer and George can be.
That's what I like about her. She actually is. We actually do have an intelligent character among the four of them. Like, she actually has. Now, she does lose her job at one point, but she has a stable job throughout the seasons, and it actually shows that she's smart. So that's nice to have one smart character among the four of them. But yeah, she definitely does have that energy.
Yeah, she it's definitely I mean, she gets herself in dumb situations, but like I feel like she tries to go through it more in a more of a logical way. But I feel like with her, it's all her weird little like quirks, whether it's like her dumb dance moves.
Yes, I was waiting for you to shout that out.
It's so
Oh
good.
my gosh. It is, from the introduction of it to, every once in a while when she does do it.
Whether it pops up somewhere.
We were just watching the Slicer episode, as I think I've already mentioned.
Yeah.
And it shows up in that episode when she turns up the music.
Oh,
so
good.
she can't hear the cat meowing. Oh man, that is one of my favorite parts of the show, and part of the reason why I like Elaine so much is that very quirky, crazy behavior, because she has as you kind of alluded to, she has a different crazy than the rest of them. It's often crazy at logical points.
Yes.
And logical in the sense that in the situation she gets in. I love when that one coworker thinks she's Susie instead of Elaine, and she builds this whole persona for Susie, and it's just moments like that. She's her just trying to get through her daily life and having to encounter situations like that is what makes her my favorite character, and how she handles those situations, and also how unfiltered she is too at times is pretty great. I love when she, in that same episode, she kind of fights back and kind of throws some insults at that lady who thinks she's Susie, stuff of that nature. But yeah, I do like her for that. And I love how she goes up and makes fun of Jerry a lot. That's one thing that I really enjoy about her character. I think that's funny because for the most part, especially with Kramer and George, they don't really kind of go at Jerry like Elaine does. Elaine really gets under his skin and goes after him, and that's always fun because at times, as we mentioned earlier, Jerry is that character that kind of manages everything. So it's having that one character in Elaine who really goes after him it's good. It's good, and it adds something to the show. Mm-hmm. TJ, we have one more character that we did talk about all of them, did we not?
We talked about the main four and Frank.
Right, and where did you rank Kramer? You said Kramer's 4. Or wait, or
where'd you Kramer at 3 today?
Did we talk? Oh, right, we didn't talk about where you had him.
No, I never really ranked him. As of today, which will probably be different from tomorrow. Today is Jerry 1, George 2. Yeah. You should be like Jerry. I was about to say Jerry Lynch. Wow. You should be like David Lynch, where he gives his weather report, but instead you rank the Seinfeld characters
every day. It's how you're feeling.
It honestly is.
You actually do have a good point though, because on any day I might actually have Elaine as my favorite.
Yeah.
I think for me it's not as diverse as yours really switching around, but for me, the way I see it, at least as I'm thinking now, is Elaine and Kramer being the two that could possibly switch, like between 1 and 3, like having Kramer, for example, Elaine 1, Kramer 2, Frank 3, or as I have it now, Kramer 1, Frank 2, Elaine 3.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of explained it, but I really do like that Elaine character. I like Elaine a lot.
Yeah, I will say I was saying before we started recording, where it's like Friends and Seinfeld are really weird because, like, with Friends, I feel like, I feel like my ranking for characters is very set. I feel like I know where every character sits in my ranking and opinions.
TJ, hold that thought. We'll be right back.
Oh boy.
All right, we are back. TJ, you had a little soliloquy, your little monologue going on there. Go ahead.
Yeah. Wait, a soliloquy? What?
I don't know. I corrected myself.
That's fair. Yeah.
I corrected myself.
Okay.
We're good. We're good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But I'll kind of trap this up real quick. Words. I feel like with Friends, I feel like my opinion on characters is very set. Where it's Chandler's my favorite, followed by Joey and some of them, and I have my bottom of my ranking, which is Rachel, and I don't see it changing. Like if I rewatch it, so I don't probably see it changing that, like if at all, maybe 1 or 2 shift, but like for the most part, I feel very solid. It feels very concrete. Where with Seinfeld, it's depending on the episode, depending on how I feel in the day, I could rank anyone practically anywhere. It's an ever changing list, and I think, like I said, it just kind of depends on how I'm feeling with characters and like what kind of comedy I'm going for. I mean, I love all of them equally because I mean they're all great. I mean I've been watching the show forever, and it's not like I get old of any characters or anything, but I don't know. It's interesting.
Well, I think that it's a good moment to switch to ranking our seasons. Let's just do our 3, 1 through 3. We won't do we ranked all of our seasons, but we won't talk about all of them. Let's just do our top 3 seasons. I'll go first. For me, 1 is season 5.
Okay.
2 is season 7. And 3 is season 9. And it's kind of weird saying that because people will call back to me hating the finale, but as I alluded to with the Kramer moment with the Merv Griffin stuff, there is a lot of memorable moments.
Oh yeah,
in season 9.
Season 9. I mean, the last few seasons are weird because, like, I feel like the common opinion is that, like, as a show, it declines a little bit because it doesn't have like that. It doesn't have the head writer, and I mean, it does kind of do it. It changes a little bit, but like, it's still memorable. And if you like, I probably mentioned this before. If you turn on TV and you watch some Seinfeld episodes, you'll probably see something from the last 2. I mean, they're very well remembered and well loved. My seasons ranking are almost the same.
Okay.
For me, favorite season 5.
Good. We don't have to fight each other.
Yeah. Number 2 is season 4.
Okay.
And then number 3 is season 7.
Okay, we really don't have to fight each other. That's good.
Yeah.
One of the reasons that, and we kind of were curating these lists together before the show started, and I was just going through them, and you're talking about the puff. This is season 5. The puffy shirt,
like
the cigar store Indian.
Oh, dude, that episode's so funny.
The stall, the marine biologist.
Like half that season is just like ones that like are so memorable, and just like I think the sniffling accountants in that one.
It is.
That one's so funny.
The Hamptons, and there goes the camera.
Yep.
That's just gonna be a consistent thing on the podcast. Just remember that the camera will never last the entire episode, and yep, that's just how that works.
Nope.
And culminating in one of the highest rated episodes of the show, The Opposite, with George deciding to do everything the opposite of what he normally does. But and there's the fire, as we talked about. There's the fire episode. Yeah, it's chock full of good ones. I really am fascinated and attracted to the raincoats episode, the one where Jerry's dad has those raincoats in bulk, and Kramer is coming up with a scheme. Him and Kramer coming up with a scheme to sell them, and that's the other one. That's one of the more kind of movies in the show where Jerry and his girlfriend go to see Schindler's List. That's that same episode.
So funny.
Yeah, it's just moments like that come up, and then that other one, which gets a good kick out of me, is the one where there's that mannequin in the store that looks like Elaine.
Oh yeah, is that the pie one?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
Oh, it's so funny.
yeah. So there's just an incredible amount of just great episodes, and episodes that I think are actually underrated, in my opinion.
Yeah.
For example, the dinner party. That whole bit where they're trying to get to the dinner party and they have to buy the alcohol and they get stuck, and George has his coat, his big puffy coat, ends up having to give it to, I think, the guy that owns the liquor store because they need to get the alcohol or need to get the drinks or something. I'm really fond of that one. That one sticks out to me.
Oh yeah.
But it's just a great season, man.
My dad, whenever we see black and white cookies, my dad and I always talk about
right.
The only way to eat black and white cookies is you get a little black and you get a little white. It's so funny.
It is. It is.
I want a black and white cookie. They're good.
Where do you even get one?
Bakeries.
Oh, do they have them like everywhere at bakeries?
Do
they have them here?
Yeah, there's a bakery over by the Walmart.
Oh,
Emerson
yeah,
was just
Pastry
talking about
Perfection, is that what it's called?
Yeah. Emerson was just talking about it. I think they have them there still. They should. They're
all right,
delicious.
we're going to end the podcast now where TJ and I are going to go. It was nice listening to you guys. We're going to go get some black and white cookies. We'll see you later.
I like this idea.
Oh. But any thoughts, TJ, on, since we both had these on our top 3, season 7? You have any thoughts on that? Or season 5, either one?
I like season 7 because season... Is it 5 with the pilot, or is it season 4?
That's the end of season 4.
That's season 4, okay. That's what I thought, but like season 4, it has like a nice... I think it has a fun season arc, where with season 4, it's the pilot. With season 7, it's George's engagement, which is so... It's such a dumb plot that, like, it's continually fun, and I think it never gets old. And what's weird is according to my parents, like, people at the time didn't like Susan, so that's the reason they really canned her.
I'll be honest, I hated. That was one thing. There was 2 episodes that actually, the one episode that I hate, like, have a genuine hate for, is the Invitations episode, or the one after, because I understand they're trying to be jerks, but the way they handle like someone dying, that really left a sour impression on me, because that, for me, that almost took it too far. I'm like, this is really sickening. Well, I don't know, man.
I think it's weird that, like, it's like people at the time didn't like Susan, so they were like, we need a way to get her out of here. So that was kind of their solution. But honestly, I didn't find her to be that bad. I don't get. Like,
I like Susan.
Yeah, I was gonna say shout
out to Susan.
Yeah, everyone I talk to about talk to you about the show and about Susan's character, they don't mind Susan, but apparently they didn't like her at the time. And so they were like, we need to get her out of here, and that was their solution. Was it a good one? Not really.
No, it wasn't.
I mean, it was memorable enough to talk about it in our law class at one point. So,
did you really?
Yeah. We talked about the if they could sue for that, and I was just like, oh my god, yes. And everyone in my class had no idea what the hell Seinfeld was. This is depressing.
That was me with I told you about this. My professor for 2 of my classes this last semester, big Seinfeld, Curb Your Enthusiasm, Larry David guy.
Oh, so funny.
And we would go back and forth. In one of our classes, we would read a collection of short stories and discuss them in class. And we would go back and forth, sometimes comparing moments in the short stories to something that went on the Seinfeld. And everyone else in the class
lost.
Just had no idea what we were talking about, but found it very amusing because we were doing this. Do I want more people to see Seinfeld? Yes.
Oh, it's so fun.
But it's kind of cool that you have this own little world that's to yourself, it feels like, especially with our generation. For the most part, you and I are the only ones that really talk to each other about Seinfeld, because most of our friends haven't seen it. They've seen Friends or The Office for the 10th time. Yeah.
Seinfeld is a weird thing, because I feel like at the time, even when it aired, it wasn't like the most... It's not the what, like, the sitcom that, like, the young people talked about. I mean,
right, because because it was Friends, which was going on at the same time.
But I feel like
Part of the time, at least.
I feel like Seinfeld is like the sitcom that is loved by older generations, where yes, Friends has lived on, but it's through younger people. It's through people who watched it in the 90s as a kid or as like a teenager and still occasionally watch it now. Where with Seinfeld, I think it's people who are a little older who got more like the old jokes that they were going for. And I think it's kind of carried on through like that generation they're a little like older, but they're still moderately younger. But like where with our age group, if someone our age was going to watch one of the two, it's probably going to be Friends.
Oh yes, definitely.
I think as a show, it's probably more. It has more of an appeal. It's more character based. You're gonna grow like relationships with the characters and all that. Where with Seinfeld, it's more like the situations and all that, where it's just like, but like, yeah, I definitely want to see more people watch Seinfeld, but at the same time, it is kind of nice.
It is cool. It is.
Like it's kind of like an exclusive little club where it's just like, oh, I know what you're talking about, but probably half the people in this room don't.
We have made, again, by the way, just for the listener, I am looking at the camera still, so that is a thing. But TJ and I have made several inside jokes about and quoted lines from Seinfeld, and our friend group was just clueless. They had no idea. But yeah, it's kind of fun. All right, I think we're good with the seasons because we are running long on time here, so we want to move on. Let's move on to episodes. Our favorite episodes of the show. So I will do. I had an extremely long list, so I'll just do a couple honorable mentions. But my 5 are the opposite. Number 1, which we talked about. Mm-hmm. Number 2, the pilot. I'll just say quickly, I really like that episode because it's very much, it's cool because of the idea that the characters are creating the sitcom that we're watching at that exact moment. I found that to be really cool and a really cool storytelling tool and plot device. So to see that and Jerry and George talking to the actors that are playing them,
themselves,
all that. It's kind of like it almost has the Inception vibe to it or something like that.
It's so meta. It's so funny.
Yeah. 3, I have The Slicer, which actually is a season 9 episode we were talking about. It's a very fun season, despite not being necessarily critically the best. And I like that one because it's Kramer being Kramer. And it's an Elaine and Kramer team up that we don't really see too often.
Yeah, you never see that.
So that was really fun. And 4, I have the limo.
Oh, dude, that was so funny.
Oh my gosh! It starts out as whose idea was it to go to the limo? Was it George's idea?
It's Jerry's.
Oh, it's Jerry's idea
because Jerry knows that the guy doesn't get on the plane. So he's like, why don't we just take the plane or take the limo back? And George is like, all right, I'll bite. Mm-hmm. And then insanity ensues.
What is so memorable to me about that episode is the way the details slowly come out, so and you realize, they're in a white supremacist Nazi person. Jerry's portraying a white supremacist Nazi person.
Yeah,
and
it's one of those ones that like it starts out so normal. And then it builds into the most insane shit and like some of the most insane stuff in the whole show. But it works so well. It's one of those ones where I was like, oh my god, I forgot how insane this show can get. But it's so good.
And I rewatched that one recently. That was in the last month, I want to say. I rewatched that one.
I think that's one of the ones I showed Emerson.
Oh yeah, I know you showed him the marine biologist one. Didn't you show him that or no?
I think I was going to show him the limo one. And then I didn't.
Oh, yeah.
I'm very sad about that.
Number 5. And the number 5, I have the pothole.
That's such a funny one. That one's so good.
Where George gets his drops his keys
in the pothole.
in the pothole that they fill, and they have to take it out. What was the other?
Funny.
I can't remember. What was the other story ones? With
that one is where Jerry accidentally knocks his girlfriend's toothbrush in the toilet.
Yes. Yes.
And I can't remember the other parts, but
What is that one?
I remember they're very memorable. It's a very funny episode.
Yeah, and I should remember because it is a top 5 for me. But here, I'll look those up while you go on with yours. And then my honorable mentions, I'll just go through them quickly. The parking garage, the voice, the junk mail, and this is just an honorable mention for just a specific moment. Mm-hmm. You know how well I'm attached to this moment very fondly, which is the Merv Griffin bit.
That episode's so funny.
Because that ultimately is the epitome of Kramer to the loudest extent possible.
Yeah.
Of him literally creating a late night show or a show kind of interview set, pretending like there's cameras, bringing Jerry, Elaine, George on as if they are actual guests.
It's so funny.
And interviewing them. It is...
Yeah, that whole episode is so funny.
Oh my gosh. It truly is. And then, last thing I'll say, the parking garage was, to me, the first episode that got me hooked with Seinfeld.
Yeah.
For me, that was the episode where I realized, oh, damn, this is a good show. This is good stuff.
I don't really have a concrete ranking. I kind of just list off some of my favorites, and then I was going to tweak it later. But I'll kind of just run through them all.
Okay.
I had the Yada Yada on there.
Yes.
I think that one is so funny. And I think the insanity that keeps it kind of ensuing, and just the way they use Yada Yada. And
I know it makes one of the characters insane, right? Because one of the characters, or someone gets ticked off that another character is saying yada yada yada, right?
Yeah. George's girlfriend just keeps saying yada yada yada, and at one point he's like, "All right, what are you actually saying in yada yada yada?"
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh yeah, I robbed a store, and then then I got something, and then I didn't pay for it." And he's like, "Oh." Between that and
man,
the jokes at the end about anti-dentites.
Yes.
And,
yes.
I mean, the last
with Walter White.
Yeah, and the last few lines of it with the girlfriend at the wedding, that whole ending is so funny. Mm-hmm. I had the limo in there.
Okay.
For mine. The Bizarro Jerry.
Which one's that one?
That's the one where Elaine befriends a guy that their group is exactly the same as Jerry's.
Yes.
And then George somehow gets access to a club that's in a meatpacking plant, and he uses a picture of his of someone to and acts like it's his dead wife to pick up girls, and it's so funny.
I remember this.
That's one of the ones I watched before. Started watching it as a whole, and I was like, "This is why I love this show."
Is that the same episode where because there's that exclusive party club? Is that the one? Yeah.
And George tries to take Jerry at the end, and he's like, "This is a meatpacking plant."
Yes, of course.
That one's so good. The puffy shirt,
of course.
The low talker, that bit.
One of just the dumbest and funniest
it's so
moments
funny.
of the show.
I mean, yeah, the whole bit with the low talker is some of the funniest bits of the show. It's one of the ones where it's I've seen it so many times. Man. But every time I watch it, I laugh so hard, and it's just it's so good.
Oh,
the Hamptons. I think that one is so consistent.
We talked about
funny.
Yep.
I just love Shrinkage and all that are such funny
Shrinkage,
bits.
Kramer, another great Kramer moment when he steals the lobsters.
So good.
And he was breaking some law and ended up getting apprehended by the
Coast Guard.
The Coast Guard, or some enforcement unit or whatever.
I got 3 more here just listed out.
Yeah, go ahead.
The Cigar Store Indian.
Yep.
That one is so funny.
Yep.
Jerry trying not to be racist is the funniest thing.
Oh, I one part that I remember, and talking about, speaking of my professor that loves Seinfeld, he literally showed us this episode when we were talking about taboo language and taboo words.
It's so funny.
And one moment that sticks out to me is when, because it's so, you're just because you normally say this, he he talks about getting reservations.
Yes. At his store.
At the restaurant.
Oh,
and he's because so the thing is too is he's already done it a couple times, so you get the understanding, you know what he's going for, and it's just so comedically beautifully written. And he's like and he's like, what should I say here? And oh my gosh. Good. And Kramer, totally extremely racist and rude, but when he comes out of the taxi cab and he does the Indian call.
It's so funny.
It's so bad, but so funny.
It's and then like the whole thing with George and like the lady at the antique store. That bit is so like that whole episode is so like relentlessly hilarious.
Oh my gosh.
And it's one of those ones where it's like I could watch that one like every day. It would never cease to be funny. It's so good.
Yeah.
Next, I had The Outing.
Explain. I'll know it once you tell me.
It's the one where the reporter thinks George and Jerry are a couple.
I completely forgot about this episode. This definitely should have been in my top lists my top 5 or in my honorable mentions, because that is my favorite Seinfeld moment.
It's
ever.
So funny. I like how they like expand on the joke from what will be my favorite episode.
Okay.
But like the like, not that there's anything wrong with that, is arguably one of my favorite reoccurring lines like through the episode, and just like it's just one of those lines like that is unbeatable through the show, and it's so funny.
It is. That is the line I quote the most outside, because it's outside of talking about the show, because it's so applicable to just conversations funny. When it's like a heated conversation, or you have an unpopular opinion, or someone has an unpopular opinion, you're like, not that there's anything wrong with that, but just the way you can use that line. And I just that is one thing too, right, about Seinfeld that is so fantastic, is its normalcy and the idea of everyday occurrences happening in the show.
Yeah,
it's the idea that you can. TJ is reading The Beautiful Law of Dutch Oven Cooking.
I am.
Diane Thomas, which we are definitely going to do an episode on that just for the memes.
Oh my God.
Or at least part of it, like a Sauna Sunday on it. But it's that idea that you can use a lot of these lines every day because of that whole factor with the show.
Yeah.
And that is one of the epitome episodes of that.
Then probably one of my all-time favorites is The Contest.
I think it is the highest rated episode on Letterboxd on IMDb.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the most iconic sitcom episodes like ever. I mean,
it is.
It's so well written, and it's I mean, it just it's so like The Outing. It's just so consistently funny, and it consistently builds on itself. And it's just so well done. It
is one of the prime episodes when you look at the revolutionary idea of the 4 characters, all with their different storylines, building up to that moment, instead of just like a duo having half the sitcom episode and another duo having the other half.
Yeah.
It really is. You really do see that whole idea with the 4 characters having their own journey to the end.
And I mean, probably one of the most classic moments of that is like where Kramer leaves the room, and like 30 seconds later he comes in, slams the money on the table, and he's like, "I'm out." Everyone's like, "What?"
And you see him walk away too. He's like, I have to go.
Yeah, he's like, I'll be back.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
It's just like the It's just like the escalation of it is so insane in the course of like less than a minute. Where are you going?
I have to charge it.
Okay.
I have to charge the computer. I didn't charge it all the way before.
Fool.
I am a fool. Much like the characters of Seinfeld.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, dude, it's Seinfeld. You can't go wrong with like 99.9% of the episodes.
100%. It is. I'm glad I got to it when I did. I'm actually glad I got to it after watching a lot of the sitcoms because it gave me a better understanding of why it's so different than the rest of them.
Yeah, what makes it so funny? And
what makes it so funny, different, iconic, all those different aspects of it. But yeah, also the other thing I'll mention too about which I was going to get to is Larry David heard all of the comments about the finale and made had a Curb episode where he remade the finale
of
Seinfeld. I just wanted to shout that out because in case anyone's interested on just watching that episode, because I will also say, I mean, this is a slight tangent, but Curb, it's one of those shows where you can just watch any episode you want. It's just they're all kind of on their secluded on their own.
Yeah, Seinfeld is the same way.
It is. That is a good point.
Yeah, it's not like Friends where they're like, Friends is you can watch most of them, but like, it has like more season arcs and it has more of like, has more of a set path. Where Seinfeld's like I can throw on a season 5 episode and a season 3 episode and then a season 9 episode. It doesn't really matter that much.
That is a good point. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we hope you enjoyed our conversation on Seinfeld. We both had a fun time doing it, as you could tell.
Oh, yeah.
It is, as TJ alluded to, well, I don't know if you did, TJ, it is your favorite sitcom of all time.
Yes. I haven't seen that many.
That's a good point.
I've only seen The Office all the way through. I've seen Community all the way through.
Friends.
I think that's it, but I've seen a solid chunk of Arrested Development, like most of the season.
Yes.
And I've seen a few episodes of MASH, a few episodes of Cheers, just like here and there stuff with some of them. And I definitely have to say, like as a whole, I think it's my favorite, followed by Friends. I think Friends is really well done.
It is. As far as my rankings go, which I'm trying to convince TJ that we do a whole episode just on my journey when ranking the sitcom episodes, but we'll see if that happens or not. Or maybe it'll take up part of us on a Sunday. I don't know.
Who knows?
But we're at currently my journey. I don't want to spoil it too much, but critically, well, no, we'll save it for another episode. But it is up there, no doubt. And I guess the one thing I'll mention is. Well, I'll say it. I like Friends, and actually, this is really weird. I talked about this at the beginning. MASH might actually now be my favorite sitcom.
All right.
I don't know if it's time or what it is or looking back on it, but and a part of it could just be how fantastic that finale was, and that might be.
Yeah. I mean, I
tampering with my opinion of it, but that is definitely one of the shows that has the clearest drop as far as quality in episodes later on in the last and I told you this too, TJ. It actually ended up getting better like the last couple seasons, but there's 3 or 4 season stretch where
it takes a hit.
It takes a hit because there's just at that point there's just so many episodes.
Yeah, I mean. Friends kind of has the same thing where it's like season 9.
Yep.
It takes a dip and then it rebounds with season 10 for a bit. But I mean, I think at least in my opinion, it kind of has that same kind of thing where it's like it has its rocky period, but it gets better, and then it has a nice, satisfying finale that really wraps up things in a really in a good way. That like really takes like it cements itself as a good finale.
I will say critically, it is... I won't say critically, because I want to say that for later. From a consistency standpoint, it is the most consistent sitcom that I have watched. Quality-wise. Because, say what you want about 8 and 9, there are, as we talked about ad nauseum, there are several memorable moments from those 2 seasons, and there's... I personally... Did I see a drop-off when Larry David left? Sure.
Yeah,
it wasn't
changes.
the drop-off that I saw with MASH or with Friends. It was much less than that. Because they adapt the storylines and they adapt how the show is run to their new creators and without Larry David. So
yeah. It's not like a true like quality drop-off, but it's like it's a drop-off in the sense that it has a different creator. It's it's just like a shift change that sometimes works and sometimes it's just okay. Where it's not as consistently as I don't want to say good because it is still good, but like it's not as consistently as like I don't want to say revolutionary either, but you get where I'm going.
Yeah, I get where you're going. I think, yeah, it's just
It's
ultimately
different.
it's different. The writing's changed, but I have not seen. I will say also Cheers is extremely consistent as well.
Yeah.
I think from a revolutionary standpoint, obviously it is not what Seinfeld is, but I will say Cheers, again, this is for a different podcast, but it handles big changes in really great ways. So I'll just leave it at that because that is for a different episode. But yeah, we hope you enjoyed, and I want to do more of these episodes. I think we should maybe do a sitcom one or an episode for Friends or something. TJ, I think that'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, I haven't watched Friends in a while, but I might have to revisit some.
Yeah,
Just here and there.
but relatively same structure. Talk about our favorite episodes, characters, that sort of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, I think that'd be kind of fun. So, and maybe the 3 people that are listening to this, if you want to let us know on our Instagram at the Manic Movie Misfits Podcast, if you want to see us do an episode on Friends or another sitcom, whatever, we can definitely do that. So,
Yeah.
for that guy over there, TJ,
That's me.
and for me, El Juan, as the business knows me, we'll catch you on another episode of the Manic Movie Misfits Podcast. Peace.
See ya. Do it, Anakin. I stand. Fly inverted.